Are we rolling? Rawhide.
Roll
All right.
Tide. Rawhide. What's Rawhide?
Rawhide is a movie that used to be on, or not a movie, a show, every week.
For like really
Rolling,
old people.
Rawhide.
Like
It was Bonanza.
okay, so it is old people like you.
Yeah. All right.
You know why they all know the same
Oh,
shows?
Lordy, here. Because that's
Because
all there
there's only
was. There was
two.
only like 4.
There's only like one channel.
Yeah.
So everybody watched the same
Yeah,
thing.
and no, there was like 4 channels, but you know what that meant? You had
Whoa.
to get off of the couch, walk over, turn the channel, go back, sit back down, and decide whether you like it or not.
Do you know what the channels were? Like, what were the names of them?
CBS, ABC,
Hey,
And
you're
what are the
complaining.
other two?
CBS, ABC, NBC, and I don't know. CMT had not come out yet.
So all the news networks were all the way back then?
Some
Well,
of them.
When I was younger, as like a kid, my first television was black and white. There was no color. Yeah, and it was a big monstrosity thing that
Look,
you sat on your
You're
dresser.
sitting here complaining about having to get up off the couch and everything to go change the channel, and our ancestors, their entertainment was watching a gladiator fight a tiger, okay?
Yeah, that was pretty
so,
cool.
It's a little different.
Not
It's
necessarily.
not so bad of a life.
I'm not. You don't hear
Usually
me.
it was prisoners, I think, that had to fight the lion.
Okay.
And I agree.
It was-
I'm
I said
actually pretty
tiger.
jealous of that. Like,
I would rather watch
I wish you
that.
could have our judicial system so that you know that they were actually
guys.
guilty. But then if you got to watch like a pedophile have to get killed by a lion, I
A
mean, that needs to be awesome.
pedophile.
Why this is...
How do we get into these subjects?
Because they
man?
deserve
Would
it.
you- we
That's
ha-
what I'm saying.
Okay,
They
we're
deserve
going to
it.
start the podcast because this is already out of podcast land. Okay, so
It's
Joe
actually
Rogan
like
would talk about this.
everything people
That puts
talk
it
about
into
with podcasts.
podcast land.
Yeah, no kidding.
okay, so here we go. Anyways, so we're back. The Raised Hunting Podcast is here, and we're going to be talking a little bit. Well, wait a minute. Whoa. I'm not going to tell you what we're talking about because you people have started failing. That's right. You've let us down. We've got lots and lots of people that are watching the podcast, and you're not leaving reviews.
Well, technically they're
Bad,
listening
bad.
to the podcast.
What?
Technically they're listening to the podcast.
Okay, so they're listening, watching, not tuning in.
Okay, that's better.
Tuning
I like
into the
that.
podcast, and you haven't been leaving reviews. However, I do have one that I want to make mention. Mitch Duvet commented the other day. Him and his dad doubled on turkeys here in
Oh,
Iowa.
yeah.
And I thought it was really cool. He shared a photo with us. And so, Mitch, big shout out because he said a lot of the stuff that we had talked about, they employed as far as shooting turkeys with a bow. As his dad was even shot it in the shiny spot.
Heck yeah.
So anyhow, very cool. Mitch, thank you very much. We appreciate that. If more of you folks would do that, we might mention your name. We might send you something like Easton. We just give him to you.
Hey, I'm a lot of fun. That's a good deal.
Shipping ain't worth it.
All right.
You
So,
have to
but
keep it in a cage and feed it.
Hey,
It'd be a lot.
that's
Yeah.
not very nice.
so here we go. We are going to continue our turkey topics. And the reason being is because we're probably halfway through our turkey season. A lot of you guys are just getting started.
I feel like
And
we're close to the end just because they make fourth season so much longer.
right.
'Cause
but
what's
it's
our last day? May 15th?
May 10th, I think, May 15th, some mid-May.
Yeah, somewhere
So
in
we,
there.
so you still got two and a half
Still,
weeks,
yeah,
3 weeks.
almost, yeah.
Yeah, and we haven't even got to fourth season yet. I mean, we got 2 days left, but
Right. But things are changing for sure. We're already seeing it. Yeah, and it's not for the better. But so anyhow, I don't know who wants to share their. We have a couple things that have happened here in Turkey land. You had someone kill a turkey for their first time. Have we missed any of the other? Because we have you guys. You and Joey doubled. I doubled on the first day. We talked about your kill, right?
yep.
And we
Yep.
gone over that one.
And Jamie killed one.
So
She's the only one recently, right?
that I can think of. Yeah, Mom is still
Mom
holding the
hasn't killed one
tag,
yet.
and Alyssa still got her tag.
And
Yep.
poor Alyssa. Holy cow! This morning was such a tease.
Yeah.
Dude, that's been my whole year. I've only had one
That doesn't.
encounter where like I had a bird close, and that was the one where I
You
killed.
also have dipped out on play. You have bounced around
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
How?
Little consistency.
So
I would
let-
like to know how. I would like to know what is so different from this year to last year.
It's called the Hitchin' Post.
I don't know, man. No kidding. My year has been way better
The
this
Hitchin-
year than it was last year.
The Hitchin' Post is a restaurant And Warren is usually there by 8:15, and
For
if that gives
breakfast.
you anything,
And normally not because he's already tagged out,
Right.
because he just wants to go get breakfast.
is all he does is start mentioning it to someone at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Boy, the hitching post would be really good. Eggs and bacon. And
If you don't get a group chat from Warren asking, do you need me to make a table for 4 at the hitching post, then there's something weird going on.
I told Nick that when one of the first days we were hunting, it was super windy and stupid. And
super windy.
yeah,
It was super windy and stupid.
And I was like, man, some breakfast sounds good. And he's like, yeah, like a McChicken or whatever the McDonald's egg sandwiches are. And I was like, no, like I'm talking like a real breakfast, like eggs and bacon, not some freaking grease bomb at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, that's the only way I go to eat breakfast after something. It's got to be a legit breakfast. Otherwise, that stuff is.
Well, we're not the only ones that and I admit I'm guilty of going to the hitching post, but typically it's in celebratory action
Yes.
because we've killed a turkey.
And I have not. That is the bummer for me. The place that we normally have of our celebratory breakfast is temporarily closed.
You can't talk that much crap because how many turkey kills had you been a part of on the first week last year?
I don't know, like 7 or 8 here in Iowa.
Okay.
No,
And
well, wasn't that many because I know, like when you
Well,
came
let
help
me-
me and
here,
Joey, it
let's
was like
count 'em.
3
I
weeks
think
in,
it was more.
2 weeks in.
Oh, was it?
We were
No.
we were at least second week because we hunted the first week on our own.
No, you just felt like it was that long.
No,
'cause you
we
were getting your
genuinely
butts
did.
kicked.
No, we actually hunted the first week.
Nope.
I don't think so.
If anything, it was the second weekend.
Nope.
Maybe the second weekend.
That's it.
But I don't.
Because we had enough time to hunt our own places and get our butts kicked, and they hunted where Joey ended up killing, and then left, and then we hunted there for 2 or 3 days.
That was on the first day, though.
Yeah, but we hunted 3 to 4 days at our own place on our own.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it starts on a Monday usually, so you're
This
still
is
on
not
Friday.
helpful.
you're not listening.
People listening to the podcast are not getting any information out of us arguing about what day. What is your point?
Count up how many it was. It was
Okay,
at
so-
least.
So Easton killed. Well, let me go from the beginning. So I killed on opening day, I believe. Yes, with Nick. Nick killed the second day, right? Didn't we go back? All right. Then I don't know who was next. Who? Because Alyssa's in that first
Did
week.
you take a youth?
No, I don't think so.
No, you didn't take a youth last
No,
year.
I took everybody. I
Yeah,
mean,
you took
so
literally
Joey
everybody.
was in there, but I don't know what day Joey was. I can look at my phone.
Whatever
and
it
see.
was, Joey killed, and then the next day, me and you killed. What was that afternoon?
No, yours
it
was. I looked at yours. Yours was Saturday. So yours was the.
So it would've been, you maybe you're right.
6
It's
days in.
Friday. Yeah, so Friday, because it was the day before Joey killed. So, but you were every day, right?
Then mine.
Yeah.
Then Alyssa's.
Yep.
Then my second one. That one might have been a little later, though.
Where was your first one? I was trying
second
to
one had
remember
to have
which
been
one
later.
was that.
On your west piece.
You did not.
Okay, yeah.
You didn't kill 2 with a bow last year, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Impressive.
Yeah, I
Wow.
had to jump in the creek to get the first one.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yep.
So,
Okay, well, I think Warren's point here is the fact that it
This-
hasn't been that consistent.
no, I'm saying take hitching post out of the equation because he's not going hitching post all the time, and his numbers are still way down, too.
You can look at the only thing I will say is I went 3 days, 3 shots
Yeah.
for
This
this
year.
year. That,
Yeah.
And last year was not the case.
Yeah.
But this year I will preface our weather has been, not to like use an excuse, but I mean our weather has been the evening, even the mornings if you're not, like if you're sitting a little bit later, but the evenings mainly are 20, 30 mile an hour winds.
That's the
The
biggest.
mornings have been like
cold and windy.
cold, which we haven't sat out because they're cold, but when it's 30 mile an hour winds at 8 a.m., like
it's
you better
tough.
kill them off the roost, otherwise you ain't killing them.
Yeah, they can't hear you. They
Unless you
can't-
can find
They
them.
can't find you, and they shut up. Where like this morning, they were gobbling like crazy, and it was
They-
cold, but it was calm and sunny.
We were even we heard gobbles till 10 that last sit, and that I haven't had that all year.
Right.
But
So anyhow, that first week, which you guys have heard us say numerous times, the first week, at least in Iowa, in the Midwest, because since this last podcast, I've been back to Nebraska, filled my second
that's
tag
right.
there.
yep, you got another one
And,
there with
yeah,
no blind.
Yeah, maybe we should talk a little bit. I forgot about that. I set out to see if I could
Well,
kill
that
one.
there you should talk. I mean, you can talk about that story, but you should talk about the difference because you came back and said that, man, I would like to go back to Nebraska instead of opening weekend or whatever. I'd like to go later. Compared to here, we're already like when you went back there, we're still dealing with we're getting to the point where it's tougher. Right. You went back there and they're fired up like no other.
That's because they start so much earlier.
Yeah.
So for those of you that I think Nebraska is the only state that I know of that offers an archery only season. And somebody write in and tell us if there's another state that has one.
There is.
Where?
I don't know, but somebody was just telling me about that.
Oh yeah.
I think Kansas actually.
Well, Nebraska is also like the only Midwest state that is extremely early on a turkey, like in March.
Well, no, but their turkey season doesn't start till April. I mean,
what do you
with
mean?
a shotgun.
Oh, you're saying that archery only.
That archery only season is a long time. It's like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
it's 3 weeks.
It is. It go March 25th to what was the week? What was last Saturday?
Today was April 24th, so.
What's today?
Not this 17th. I don't know.
24th. So back up 3 days. 24th, 23rd, 22nd. Yeah. So the 15th. So So from March 25th to April 15th is archery, or April 14th is archery season in Nebraska.
Wow, I did not realize that.
I didn't either. And then it turns into their shotgun season.
Huh.
That is a long season.
Just a little bit of information, though, so that people will know that if you're looking at doing these Midwest hunts, a lot of them are by draw, including Iowa.
Yeah.
And Nebraska now is. They did not used to be. So
I didn't think Nebraska was draw. I thought it was just limited.
They just started
tags.
this year.
It's not. It's not a draw. But
well, what I'm saying is it's a limit. I mean,
yeah, they're not.
You can't just go like if you decide you wanted to go tomorrow, you can't.
Yep.
Unless they didn't sell out.
They did.
I'm saying in the event. In future years, they don't, which that will probably never happen.
Well,
I think they'll sell out all the time unless they up the quota by.
That's what I'm saying.
And the whole purpose of it right now is to save the turkeys. They've cut down to a 2-bird limit. They've also taken out you can't kill 2 birds in the same day. You got to kill one, then kill another one.
I'd be willing to bet that actually makes a pretty big difference.
It makes a huge difference,
especially there.
And because I believe.
Well, not taking them out of the flock.
Yeah, Shane and I could have killed 4 birds out of. We had 4 toms come in that first day.
Yeah, that's not necessarily even the same flock, just the fact that you can get multiple to come in, and now you shoot one, and then you have to go back and get more to come in again.
Well, the other thing is on a 3-day hunt, that means that you're only going to have 3 mornings.
Yep.
Where if you could kill 2 in a day, you could kill one at 6:30 in the morning. Go back out at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Go back out again at noon. I mean, that was doable before.
Yeah.
Do you know if it was 10,000 licenses or 10,000 tags?
10,000 permits.
So does that mean that 10,000 people could each get 2 tags?
No, no. Every time you bought one, like I bought 2,
right.
So I took 2 of the 10,000.
Okay, so that's
tags.
really could possibly only be
5,000 people. Correct.
I wonder how many. I would be really curious to know how many they were killing before this. Like what the total harvest numbers
if
were.
you did that and you just assumed it was 3 tags a person, and I don't know, I don't remember. I don't think they ever had the limit.
No,
I mean they probably have a limit, but it was probably a lot more than.
Well, I'm sure that they came up with 10,000 had to be derived from somewhere. They didn't just come up with a number.
I would say it's significantly more previously.
Oh, yeah, I would feel like they probably cut it by like 50-60%.
Yeah, a lot.
Which I'm a fan
Mm-hmm.
of. I mean, if you've seen the numbers, if you hunted Nebraska years ago, now you hunted it recently, there's a big difference in the turkey numbers. It's still far beyond a lot of other places, the turkey number, but the entire Midwest.
It used to be stupid.
Yeah, but you could sit there in your early archery season that you're talking about and have a flock of 100 to 200.
Yes.
And now, granted, I'm sure certain areas are still having things like that, but as far as I'm concerned, even 5 years ago, the big flocks were now like 50, 60, or that early in the year.
We got to experience the good old days of Nebraska.
Yeah, we really did.
Because we were doing it on public. We weren't even, some of it
that's
was
the
permission,
tough
but
part
other
is
stuff was just national forest and unbelievable amounts of birds.
Oh, and then they have a walk-in program. And if those walk-in places were...
They had lists of them.
Yeah, there was... Because everyone wanted to get rid of their turkeys.
Yep.
They had way too many of them.
It's a walk-in program.
Meaning, like, you could just go sign a permission slip and you were hunting private ground, but it was public.
Like that stuff
like
in
block
Montana,
management.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, well, so you went back and first off, anybody that's paid attention to our social media, the post that you guys recently may have seen of slingshot engaged or whatever of Ricky Bobby and 3 or 4 toms just freaking booking it was from that trip.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Like if you just took a very physical video difference, you go look at some of the footage from your hunt a month ago or whatever it was now, and they're strutting around and they're coming in and stuff and they're working in decoys and stuff. Well, now you went back and they're running to beat the crap out of anything.
Yeah, you touch a call and
I have never seen a turkey run that fast to decoys.
I've never seen it either.
It was so fast you could hardly even see the booby bouncing.
Well, but you could hear it. But the thing that I noticed, and I asked Marty the same thing, and Jake, who was hunting with us, I was like, you could hear their feet. Which I mean, yeah, just like right. Well, they had to hit the brakes when they got there.
Yeah,
they were running so fast.
The one started strutting. It looked like a parachute. He's like, "Hoonk."
Yeah. It was cool. It was
I don't even know
really
what that would
cool.
sound like. I mean, you hear them walk through the woods and stuff when they're scratching around, and they sound like a herd of cattle coming through. But I've never heard like one specifically running where you know what that sounds like.
It was very cool. That was one deal. The other one, Marty was done the first morning in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Pitched out of a tree, walked right to the decoys, and he shot him.
Yeah.
I mean, now he was hunting with a shotgun, so he had somewhat of a upper hand, But I had specifically gone there to try to fill a tag without using a blind, and I did it for a couple of reasons. Not because I don't honestly like adding more challenges to turkeys. I enjoy hunting them the way we hunt them, where we sit in a blind and have our decoys out and they come in. I enjoy that so much that I'll continue to do it that way. However, when you're hunting by yourself, it's tough to pack a decoy, a blind, a chair, camera, everything that you need to take. So I decided, okay, if there was one thing that I could give up, I would give up the blind and see if I could do it and still try to film it. And I will say, hats off to the Tacticam people, because that's the only reason I got the footage that I got.
Yeah,
was being able to set something out there and remotely start it. I mean,
that's probably the only reason that you were comfortable shooting in the situation you were too, because
absolutely.
a lot of the stuff we knew, we need to have some footage and some video. And I think you probably knew when the way he came in that you weren't gonna get him on camera.
I knew I wasn't getting him on the big camera that I still had. Yes.
So you were self-filming. You were sitting without a blind, nothing, just the decoys out there, which I know some people still say is cheating, which I think is ridiculous. But with a bow, and you got it.
Got her done.
Well, you got it done closer than most people ever even get a turkey either.
Yeah, well, he came within 3-4 yards, something like. I can't tell you exactly
because
I
tried to grab him, man.
I couldn't turn around. He's behind me, and I was like, okay, just keep facing the decoy and pray he comes through the fence. And so the last time we did a podcast, we showed people, we had just put on social media, your bird coming through a fence and didn't check up, man. I mean, bloop, right through the fence. This bird wouldn't do it. And it wasn't much. I mean, it was a little better fence, but it wasn't a sheep fence or anything like that. It was still just a barbed wire strand fence, and he would not come through it. And so anyhow, when he got hung up, I mean, fortunately for me, the last place that I had a camera was now mounted on my bow. So no matter where I was pointed at, I was filming, and it was cool. I mean, I will say this, it was, I don't recall shaking, and I guess I didn't realize that I was shaking as much as I was till I went back and looked at the footage. And you can see I had my ghillie suit over top, and you see all of the leaves like going like this, because I mean it was nerve-wracking, man, to know that he was 3 or 4 yards right there behind
and
you.
not being able to really look.
I couldn't look. I could just hear him. I could hear him.
Yeah, when we talk about stuff like when you're you have to hear it the first time. You never know what drumming is until you actually understand, okay, that's what that specific noise / almost a feeling was. I don't even know what it would feel like to be nothing in between you and them. And it would be all feeling, I feel like, to hear that or to feel the drumming. Like I feel like you'd feel it in your chest.
Well, the cool thing is that he did it so many times. That's how I was keeping track of where he was, is the spitting.
Oh, yeah.
Every time he would do that, I'm like, okay, he's coming down the fence. I know where he's coming. But I'm still just facing my decoys, and he's walking right toward me. And then finally, it sounded like it got a little farther away. So I took the opportunity, or I thought he might be walking away. I'm going to turn my head. And I just turned my head real slow, and sure enough, when I look over, his tail's blocking his head, and I was like,
That worked.
yeah, he's only 6-7 yards away. Spin around. And I was like, there's no way. And I spin around. Well, he heard something or saw something, and he comes out of his strut for a second, and he's looking around. And then I just stayed still at that point, and he went back into the strut. And I'm like, well, I'm not quite far enough around. Spin one more time. If he does it again, sure enough, tail starts to go up. When it goes up, I spin one more time. And then next thing I know, I'm about to get a 12 to 15-yard shot at him. And so then the only thing was trying to get a good shot where I could, shoot him right where he was.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. How I killed that bird started with the fact that I was hunting a place. I went hunting. I mean, when I say a lot of times what we do over there is either Jake will tell us or we kind of know where they're at, and we go set up. And we're planning on, okay, they should roost in these trees because there's not a whole lot of choices, and tomorrow morning they should come out here. Well, this one, I'm just packing decoys, and I took off into the timber.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, I walked back there, and the wind is blowing like 40 miles an hour. So I went to the the west side of the trees, because the wind was actually out of the east. It was like a southeast, really hard southeast wind. And so I got out of the wind, went around on that side, and it just still wasn't like the bird, when I heard him gobble the first time, you would have thought he was 500 yards away. And I kind of kept telling myself, he can't be that far. The wind's blowing too hard. He's got to be like 150, 200 yards away. So I waited a little while before I called again until I felt like if he's coming toward me, he should be about even with me. The next time I hit a call, he wasn't even with me. He had actually made it past me. And then I made a few more calls, and I'm like, boy, it sounds like he's coming. And then I see him coming through the trees.
I wonder if that's partly why he didn't come out through the fence, because it was so windy that
Maybe
he wouldn't be able to strut out in the field.
Well,
He
the
might
wind
be
wasn't
able
blowing
to.
that hard on my side.
Oh,
I mean, it was hitting the tops of the trees, really
Yeah.
hard, but it wasn't down on the ground. So I don't think that was the case. Could have been, and that's kind of what I want to talk about in today's podcast is now if you're one of those guys using decoy selection becomes really tough right now. I mean,
that's preface to Iowa, because or anywhere that your season has been in for a little bit. Cause,
Eastern birds, honestly. I think.
yeah. Well,
I think Merriam's
pr-
are stupid enough that you can continually change it up on them and they'll come
But
in.
I'm talking about some of these guys that are
I'm
hunting
sure.
Easterns that their season just opened. And
Yeah.
so they're going to be untouched
Yeah.
still, and they may be able to
So I guess
do whatever.
we
But
should preface what we're talking about then. We're talking about that the birds are starting to get educated and they're not coming in. Right?
it sure seems that
mainly
way. Which
pressure, too, I think.
doesn't make any sense because one of the places that I'm hunting, where we were hunting this morning,
Not touched.
they haven't been touched. There hasn't
Not
been
even
a
a
truck in
neighbor.
there. The neighbors haven't been in there, and yet the birds are already acting. So that's, to me, I'm starting to feel like it's not necessarily the pressure as much as it's the time. You
Season.
catch them that first week, and they seem to be very callable. And then as soon as that week is over, you're already starting to get into that really tough time.
Yeah.
Now,
But your guys' birds this morning, in my opinion, didn't necessarily act all that weird.
no.
Because they didn't come in. But it's not like they saw the decoy and they were like, oh, no, I'm not going over to that.
Right. No, so what's going on right now is I feel like what you're dealing with is the hens have broke up. More of the toms are with, even if it's just with one or two. I honestly believe the best time to kill a turkey right now, and again, this I don't have a lot of facts other than yesterday to back it up,
Midday.
is 12 o'clock.
Yep.
Like 11 to 1. Like sleep in and don't even worry about going. You won't know where they are because you won't know where they are even if you were there in the morning, other than you'll know they were there.
Yeah.
But other than that, because like these birds this morning moved.
Oh, yeah.
They went somewhere, and then they kind of shut up. Well, yesterday I'm hunting with Mom, and we had somewhat the same thing. We didn't have near as many birds on the roost as what we had, and they came out. Birds came to. We had hens come. We had hens, and Mom passed on a bearded hen, which I'm still kicking her in the butt for that one because I've been trying to kill a bearded hen for like 20 years, and
I feel like you've had multiple come in when you're not the one with
when
the
I'm
tag.
not the shooter.
Yeah.
I've had it happen and yesterday she had the perfect opportunity. I mean, 17 yards, 18 yards, and
Yep.
but 3 jakes and 4 hens come in, and we could hear a bird gobbling earlier, and I was told her I don't think it was those jakes, but I don't see him. So this goes on for 20 minutes. They're at the decoys. Finally, the flock decides, oh, we've had enough of these fake turkeys, and they start moving away. And as they start moving away, look who shows up on the edge of the timber and
Big old
is
Tom.
big old strutter. So I agree with you, Warren, that we didn't really have them see it, but they're kind of doing the same thing you were talking about last week, and that is they're pitching down and then they're not going anywhere for a while. And that's where I'm thinking that hopefully this is the case, is we have seen a significant increase in our hen numbers around where we're hunting at, because what I'm seeing is that we've helped that. We did some trapping and stuff like that and got some of the predators out of there. You've shot some of the predators by shooting some of the coyotes, but we still haven't got enough. But my point is that we've seen a few more hens, so I feel like there's more hens with more toms. But I also think that those hens leave those toms, but it's later in the morning, like not even mid-morning, like where we stayed till this morning till 10.
Yeah.
But more like 11 to 1.
What I don't necessarily understand is I would say that those birds this morning were acting somewhat weird, just in the fact of how vocal they were being and did not care. Like they just wanted to talk. And then you turn around and like that specific spot was, you guys haven't really hunted it. You hadn't hunted it till yesterday.
Correct.
So it was not hunted. No neighbors have hunted it or anything. They haven't had any pressure. And then you turn around and where me and Jamie killed the one, those birds have been a pain in the butt all year. And we hunted them the first week, and after that, we knew that somebody needed some kind of shotgun tag to break the curse over there and just be able to get in on them to where they come in the right way and figure them out a little bit. And we went and did that. But the thing about it was they came to calls, no issue whatsoever. Yet you go 40 miles away, and these birds that have not been hunted at all don't care to come to a call at all.
So far,
but they'll
from my
gobble,
experience,
gobble.
I think that the first hour or two, I don't really expect to call them in any of them. It doesn't seem like it feels to me as though that I call in all of them around like 8:30. And I think that
logically, that's what I would think.
All I'm wait, like the ones that I called in on
Friday?
No,
or Saturday?
Yes, was it yesterday morning?
Yesterday was Sunday, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday morning you guys were hunting the new farm?
Yep. I called in 7 birds.
You did not call them
caller.
in. You
Yes,
called in a
I
couple
did.
Jakes that got somewhat close.
4 Jakes and 3 Toms.
The 3 Toms didn't get close.
Yes, they did.
70 yards?
Yeah. With Jakes between them and the decoys, that's close.
You called in the Jakes.
And they absolutely, no, I didn't, because that's how I knew they were coming, is the Tom was gobbling and coming to me.
I don't think if someone's hunting with a bow, you can't count it as a call-in unless it comes within bow range. Whether you get a shot or not, that doesn't matter, but it's got to come within bow range.
That's when absolutely they came to my calls, for sure.
They may have come to your calls, but they didn't come all the way.
So I called them in. They came
you half called them in.
No, the decoys screwed it up. Otherwise, they'd have been standing on top of me.
I'm calling BS, and you can count it however you want.
Anyways,
we'll count it as
I called in 7 turkeys
Jakes
yesterday. So these 7 turkeys that I called in,
how many did you guys kill?
We should have shot one, but I have a picky freaking shooter.
So are you. You will not shoot a
I would
Jake.
have absolutely, if in her exact scenario, I'd have freaking blitzed that Jake. No problem. And you know it's true, and he will confirm because I've killed a pile of them.
You used to, but you've had all sorts of Jakes come by.
Yep. I didn't need to at that point. This was desperate measures.
Anyways, go on. No, because you just don't want to go anymore.
Anyways, so those birds gobbled all morning, but they didn't go anywhere. They weren't moving, or they weren't moving very far. And then finally the one, I'd hit a call, and he'd answer. And then I hit a call, and he'd answer. And then I waited a little bit, and then he'd sound like he moved a little bit, and then in your mind, in the turkey hunter mind, you know when they're coming, but you can't say that, right? You can't be like, okay, this bird's coming. But I knew in my mind this one's coming. And then I hit a call, and he was a lot closer. So then I told Alyssa, I was like, okay, you might need to just get ready because I think this bird, there's a chance. And then I hit one more call, and there he is. He's in the field, right? But I very rarely seem to ever have them come like right off the roost and come into calls.
See, all the birds I've had a part of a shot or killed was right off the roost this year.
I think that
really,
but I think that yours weren't. You didn't call those birds. I think you were in the right spot, and they came to you.
Joey's came 100% was called in. He was alone. Had no reason to come somewhere else, and he came in. And then the other ones were going the opposite way.
I was gonna say that flock that when he called in, they all came.
Yeah, those ones are going the complete opposite way. The moment I called to them, They turn around like, huh, what's that? And then I called to them again, and they did their little committed walk coming right in.
Now, I agree with I disagree with you on that. What's a call in and what's not. However, I do agree with you on. You made a comment, I think, or maybe you made the comment this morning that I don't like it. I love it. I mean, I love hearing it. It's so much fun to hear what we heard this morning when there's an absolute pile of turkeys in the trees. Blah, 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 blah. How many was there? I think there was 4. I think there was 5. I very rarely get a bird to come out of those like that.
I hate those mornings.
I like it when it's 1 tom or 2 toms right close to me, or 3 or 4 that are scattered, as opposed to like sounds like they're in a bigger group or could be close to getting into a group, because I feel like what those do is they pitch down together and then they just hang out. They can all see each other and everything. Why would we leave? Because on opening day when I shot those 2, the first 2 that came in, they came off the roost and came to us, but not like right away. You know, there was probably 45 minutes to an hour from the time they hit the ground till they made it there. I think I shot at 7 o'clock or 7:15, and I think daylight's like 6:15. So I agree. I'm not a big fan of or my success rate is not very, that first hour is probably one of my lowest conversions.
Yeah. So let's just say this, because I think this is the point of the podcast, is we're trying to, how do you kill pressured birds, right?
Well, you need to also, how do you
With
figure
a
out
bow,
whether
at
they're
least.
pressured?
Or if I guess you could even just premise it as difficult birds that you're not being able to get the right reactions out of. You're not being able to just call to them and get them to come in, or maybe they're not coming close enough. Things like that.
I think you have 2 separate factors here. I think one is different with a bow versus with a shotgun. So with a bow, when you start to get birds that are more pressured or difficult or whatever we want to call it, how are you approaching killing those birds? Do you ditch the blind? Do you ditch the decoys? Do you keep the decoys and ditch the blind? Do you keep the blind, ditch the decoys?
If we want to be successful, if we want to kill, if there's someone out there who wants to kill a turkey and you have private ground to do it on, or you have a big enough area that you can make sure you can see what's going on, you know, because you got to be safe, I'm going to the Reaper.
Okay, without the Reaper. Got to throw the Reaper
I'll tell you that what I'm doing
wait.
is I'm knowing exactly where they're going. Don't touch if it has to be. You'll never catch me doing it. But I know it works. I've watched him do it too. Blind, no decoys, no calls. And let them come. You're basically waiting on them like a deer.
That sounds awful.
No, but well, there's
I believe it's effective.
There's a mixture of that. What me, you, and Alyssa did this morning, the last time,
Yeah.
I could have sat there for a long time.
Yeah, you could have just sat there because one of them's going to come by eventually.
Once we got there, and I was like, "Ooh, we're out of the wind."
You have the feeling down there too.
The weather was right. This is where someone will swing by, and so what you'll do is you sit for an hour, throw a call. Sit for 45 minutes, throw a call. Half hour goes. All of a sudden, you're sitting there, and then giving back something, and now you're in the right area. The tough part about that is you need a lot of time. You know, the other part of that is there's a lot of time of nothing, but it's difficult to be.
You can't take a nap either.
Yeah.
One time when that sucker lights up that you don't know that he was there, you're gonna miss it.
With a shotgun, you just sit and lean against a tree.
So let's say that bird comes in.
Okay.
And he sees the decoys, and he's out.
He leaves.
Yep.
Okay, so I got to find another one that won't do that, or I
Because
pull the decoys.
That's what we get to start happening is
Right.
that we'll have that happen, or we'll be able to call them in. But then they get to us and they see the decoys, and it's either the blind or the decoys, and they won't come. We've been having that problem all year. Where
The
you
number-
guys
Just
are
that
shotgun
one
with a
farm,
shotgun.
which is so
Yeah.
weird.
The number one question, I guarantee you, if there's a turkey hunter out there that uses a decoy, you've all been in this situation, and yesterday it happened. Or no, I'm sorry, yesterday was Sunday. Saturday it happened. And that is, did they see my decoy or not? The bird comes to a certain point, and then they turn and leave. Or they stay there and strut back and forth, and they're there for an hour and then leave. But they don't come in, you don't get a shot, and you can't figure out, was it because they couldn't see the decoy, so they didn't come, or they could see the decoy and they didn't come.
Yeah.
And Mom and I had that exact that situation happen. That bird came within 45, 50 yards. I mean, if he's 5 more yards around a bush, she can shoot. She was hunting with a shotgun. And I'm sitting there thinking, does he see the decoy or does he not? Because there's a crest of a hill, and I put him purposely close to the top but not right on top because I really expected all of our gobbling was coming from this side of the hill. So I wasn't expecting anyone to come directly behind us. But Nick looked at the footage with me a little while ago, and from our point of view, I'm going, he had to have seen the top of that tail because I had a strutter out. But then when I got over there and I knelt down and after we were done and we didn't get a shot at him and I'm looking at that tail, I'm going, I can't see down there.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so maybe so there becomes that question. Sometimes I think we blame it on a decoy, and maybe it's that they couldn't find what they were looking for.
I'm talking about, though, so like let's just to put some parameters on this. You got one farm to hunt.
Yep.
Okay? 200 acres, and you've been hunting it all year,
Okay.
right? And you have this scenario where a bird comes to you calling, he walks out in the field, he sees your decoys, tail fan goes down, he's out.
Okay.
Because we've all had that.
Okay, and then I'm going to what Easton's talking about. I'm even going to go to the extent I won't just pop the blind up out in the field anymore either.
Yeah, put it in the trees.
Put it
or
in the
something.
trees and kind of camouflage it in a little bit. You don't have to go crazy, but enough to make it inconspicuous. And I'm trying to, now you better start doing your scouting. Spend more time in the afternoons or the mornings trying to see if you can see those birds and where they're going and try to be there and wait on them.
So you would say that there gets a point where birds that you've educated or someone else has educated, have been educated, that utilizing just a blind out in the open and decoys can almost get to the point with a bow where they're unkillable. Or you're hoping for the lottery to find the one fresh one, or that's on a really, he's angry and he's willing to still come into a decoy. He can't think straight at all.
Yes.
I think there's one of two options to when they do that, though. You have to weigh, okay, was it my decoy setup or was it the blind? Because we'll preach a lot of times, set your blind up in the wide open, doesn't matter.
Right.
But I'll tell you right now, I think me and you both have talked about it extensively. That one farm, I seriously think that part of that is the blind.
I do too.
Which is odd, very odd, because we don't have that issue anywhere else. Even in the area, we don't have that issue anywhere else.
On that place, the thing to note, I think, is what you said, those birds are very callable. We've each called them in.
Yeah, you can call them in
times.
multiple times, but they'll just kind of skirt around and bounce around. Now, what I just said was just set a blind up, or if like you're gonna have to brush it in a lot, I may even just sit there against a tree and brush myself in a little bit, and not worry about having to do the whole blind. But the other thing that I kind of want to try that maybe you have before, is an absolute whack decoy setup. Like, maybe set your blind where it's right on the edge of the trees or whatever, so it's still not freaking way out in the wide open. Put two or three, like two strutters and a jake and 3 hens or some crap out there just to see if they haven't seen anything like that. Because if they come into that, then what that tells me right there is the decoy setup is what they're like, oh, I've seen this before.
Right.
But if they still come out and they're like, what the heck? Which I would be like, what the heck? But if they do that, then it's like, okay, they saw turkeys, it's probably the blind.
So then I think, though, for anybody that's listening, because I have started to get a few of these questions. And
I also don't expect anybody to pack in turkey decoys like goose hunting.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
Need a friggin'
I've only seen that once.
ATV for
I
sure.
saw a guy had like 12.
Oh, my God.
And did it work?
I don't know. I didn't know him. I just saw the setup
Better
in
be
the
careful
field.
which one you shoot.
Could you imagine the company getting that order? They'd think it's a retail order.
He
Yeah,
had
no
he had
kidding.
every brand you could think of. He had Montana decoys, avian decoys. He had feather flex. You name it.
I think
Primos.
I think it'd work in Nebraska early because
Maybe.
there's just so many birds. But I think to provide people with some information, if you're trying to kill a bird with your bow still,
Okay.
and it's getting later, and the birds that you're hunting seem to have gotten educated and figured that out, then you probably either have to drastically change your approach, and it's going to be a lot harder. Like you're talking about trying to kill one basically you're setting them up on a trail, and they need to strut their way to you or whatever, or you need to find new birds that are fresh. You got to go get permission somewhere else, go to a different piece of public. You got to go do something and hope that those ones haven't been messed with. I think that's important to note that there comes a point where you can be setting up your blind and your decoy as many times as you want, and you're probably just banging your head against the wall.
The instance that Easton was mentioning that I've done it, I've only done it once or maybe 3 times that I can think of where I sat like all day, no calls, no decoys. Okay, but in the one particular time was for one particular bird. And the way I figured things out is I was removing things. So the first time he comes into my calls, he sees something and turns and runs. I'm like, okay, must be the decoys. So I eliminate the decoys. I don't know if it was the next day or 2 days later, I hit the call, man, this bird's coming. Next thing I know, it's bushy beard again. Here he comes. Comes out in the field. This time there's no decoys. I'm like, he's going to have to come over here and keep looking. And he's okay with that, and he's walking around a little bit, but he's like, nope, I ain't committing to that. I'll gobble and I'll strut. I'm staying out here at like 40. A shotgun hunter could have killed him. He was probably 35, 40 yards, and he strutted and strutted and strutted. So I was like, okay, he's not too worried about the blind. He was okay with that, but the decoys not being here, he didn't run off, So the next time I moved the blind, though, over next to a cedar bush and said, okay, now what I want to do is he seems to like this area. I found a core area. I had a trail camera there. So I started checking that trail camera almost daily just to see. And then I started realizing he's coming through once a day. Sometime during the day, and you'd have to see that to understand that situation where he comes to that point of the field right there where the road comes through, and it makes a cool corner. And I say a cool corner, it's a shaded spot where when it's sunny, they can get out of the shade and he can strut. And I was like, I'm just going to sit and wait on him right there. I'm just going to bank on he's going to be there at some point. So
I've killed two like that.
Without
actually.
calling?
Yeah. And I will say this, that one of the hardest things to do is to sit there and not call when a bird gobbles 200 yards away.
Yeah.
You hear, and you're like, oh, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and all I got to do now is touch a call, and he'll come over, and just don't do it.
Well, what about in the situation of doing that same thing? You go in there like, okay, like when he came in, when you could see him, were you still calling some?
No.
You
we were packing up.
Oh, see, I was wondering if you could maybe do it where all you do is you call very minimally once or twice until he answers. And then once he answers, done. Or if that would even benefit.
I had tried all that, and it got to the point where just nothing would work. And I didn't see him coming in. Mom didn't see him coming in. When we saw him for the first time, he was 7 or 8 yards away. All of a sudden, he was and the only reason I saw him is because I was packing stuff up, and I happened to turn and look out the window, and I'm like, Karen, he's right here. And she's like, what? And I'm like, he's right here. And he's just pecking around, kind of thinking about strutting. And then I'm like, he doesn't have a freaking clue because we've not blown a call. We've not done anything. He just thinks everything's normal, but it's 7-something in the evening. I'm like, and so I got to re-knock an arrow and everything. She gets the camera on him and all this, and I shoot him.
I don't know.
So
that situation is different though, because you also knew weirdly enough, knew the bird.
But I think part of what's going on is sometimes what we think is pressured birds is the change of the year. And what I'm talking about is, oh, they must be pressured because they keep going away from me. No, they're with hens. Those hens have broke up. I mean, we're not seeing big flocks of hens. I saw a flock of hens the other day that was maybe 7 or 8 or 9 or something like that, which was large. That was just even 2 weeks ago. 15, 16, 20, and now they broke. So now I feel like that midday thing could eliminate all of this, meaning you could find a tom that even if they're getting shot at with shotguns or they've had situations where they come to the decoys, you may be fighting a losing battle other than going into not doing anything.
Now, you say they're with hens, and are you thinking that they are just following that? Because and Warren said it the other day, and I 100% agree with him. Now I don't necessarily, but he wasn't talking about now, is hens, you almost just throw a call out, and goodness, you can't get them to go away if you get them to come in, and they're just going to hang out. Well, now are they not necessarily pressured, but the hens aren't coming around as much because they're more focused on nesting and
I think that they become kind of annoyed with each other, because they are looking to go sit on their eggs, and you don't ever see two hens nowhere near each other when they nest. They go separately. So I think they become annoyed and they will move away from another hen, and so sometimes they take the tom with them. And so that's what you see. But it's just one of those things where right now I am a firm believer, and I might even just do that a couple times, even without someone, just go sit and see if I can film a turkey doing something in the middle of the day, because what I'm getting at is I just checked several trail cameras yesterday, and I had a lot of birds between 1 and 3 o'clock by themselves.
Not just laying
but
there.
You would,
Not just
laying there like the ones today.
You'd contradict yourself. One, I think with a shotgun, this whole thing is totally different. Because I think now we are different than the east side of the country. Because I think it seems like over there's so many more turkey hunters that it gets different.
Absolutely.
But I think that you can almost call a bird in all the time. If you're not putting out decoys, putting in blinds, and you find the right one, just like the ones we're talking about, you can call them in. If you can you get them to 40? That's the question. And I think that a lot of times you probably could.
That we killed yesterday morning they all came in and they were nervous because they caught us moving.
Yeah.
But I don't think that until they got within 20 yards, they never even had the opportunity to see the decoys. So they were solely coming to a call.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and the ones that we had yesterday, I think that there's a good chance that you'd have killed one of those toms because the jakes would have kept going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I would be
They
trying to
interest.
be a little more mysterious instead of guiding them to the decoys.
Yeah.
Not quite as many calls, and I think the jakes would have probably either gone right past you or to the right or something, and those toms would have been following, and you'd have got a shot.
Yeah.
With it, so I think it's a different game with a shotgun. But the one time I ever did that was the best hunt of my life because these turkeys. I think I can't remember if I was going to school or what. Maybe it was work. But every day going to work, whatever I was going to do, I kept seeing this bird go on this terrace, and they weren't playing with decoys or anything anymore. And so I pulled the dad, and I was going to go and sit the blind right there at the end of that terrace, and figured I'll get a shot, right? And so I did that the next morning, and I decided, well, I'm just going to, I don't know why I was by myself, because it was one of the few times I've ever been by myself. And so I was hunting by myself, and I was like, I'm just going to take a quick nap. Well, my nap.
I told you can't take a nap in those situations.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can. You
If
can't
it's
let
meant
yourself.
to be, it's meant to be, my man.
Oh, my gosh.
Because I took a nap, and I ended up sleeping a lot longer than I intended to. And I woke up, and I looked at my clock. I was like, oh, shit. And so I just peeked my head up, like pulled a Brock. And there's a turkey at 40 walking right at me. Grabbed my bow within 2 minutes, shot the bird, and was done. It was freaking epic.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
It was so awesome.
One's like, yeah, I just went and took a nap, and I just woke up to a bird there and shot him. That's it.
It's exactly.
Easy. What are you talking about?
That's exactly what happened.
Oh, that's
I hear
lucky.
ya.
It was.
So
lucky.
what are you saying? I'm contradicting myself though.
Because you're saying between 1 and 3 that you feel as though that may change, but yet you'll say that between 1 and 3
is
loafing time, and they won't do anything.
And I'm what I'm getting at is typically that's what, and maybe it's not 3, maybe it's 11 to 1. But what I'm saying, what is midday for a turkey hunter is 11 o'clock because it's daylight at 5:30, 5:45 or whatever now. So my point is I'm what I call late morning or mid morning, is 9 o'clock. And that's my kill time typically. That's 7:30 to 9:30. Birds get off the roost. The hens they do their thing for that hour, and it's annoying, and you can't do anything with them. They start to mill about, and then all of a sudden one shows up. That's where my money. If I had someone told me there was only one time of the day I could go for 2 hours, that would probably be what I'd pick. However, at this time of year, maybe that's not the case. Maybe what I'm starting to say is I'm trying to learn. Are these birds doing what I think they're doing? And that is there's more hens. They're staying with those hens longer. It's taking longer for those hens to leave. And then once they're off of those hens, now more birds are getting to breed because there's so many more hens. And so all of a sudden, all of them are like, yeah, this is go time, man. So if you touch a hen call in the middle of the day and you can find one that has been locked up, I think you could kill him. I think he would come.
To the decoys too.
I would still probably have decoys out because I think that if I don't think they've been pressured, if I think I'm just dealing with a different time of turkey,
yep,
I'm probably putting the decoys out.
Well, we have good news because in 2 days this whole problem goes away because Warren's buying a super goose tag, and I am just blowing the beaks off these suckers. Well, one at least.
I still got a bow tag, so.
All right. Well, you can use a bow,
I don't feel like it.
You can buy that bow. You can buy that tag and still use a bow.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, Warren is by far well past he didn't have any patience to go into the season. He is so far past having even an ounce of patience left for turkeys at the moment. So just let him have the
All right,
shotgun. and
so-
go at it.
I want fun turkey hunting.
No,
I'm
yesterday
going to
we were
walk
walking
in
and we're like, I'm doing it in a way I normally would not do it. Moving through a bottom, waiting to hear a bird gobble. And I found a spot that felt good. I was like, I know they roost in here. I think we could sit here and just wait for them this evening. And I let myself be peer pressured to, I don't want to sit around. I want to go try to chase a turkey. He's like, yeah, I could shed hunt while I do it too. I'm like, you're an idiot. This is just, he's not trying to turkey hunt. He's shed hunting.
Right.
I was too trying to turkey hunt, but I want a fun turkey, not a boring one.
The same thing with fishing. He's a catcher, not a fisher.
Right.
I'm not a fisher.
No, you're not. At least you admit that one.
Fisherman.
You're not a turkey
All
hunter.
right. So should we
I'm a
wrap?
true
Let's
turkey
wrap
hunter.
this up then. I think if we had to wrap this up, you hear that this is without wrapping it up, just from the discussion. When you get mid-season of any turkey season, whether it's pressured birds, whether it's the change of birds, they get harder. Period.
Yeah, birds can get.
You need to
turkeys-
start changing too
Yes.
with them.
I
And-
think turkeys are a unique one because they can be so easy sometimes
Oh, yeah.
and so hard other times.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you can catch them at just the right time, at just the right mood. And so you got to change up, like what Easton just said. You got to change up what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just borderline insanity. You're just doing the same thing, hoping for the same result, and it ain't going to happen.
Yep.
That's
So
why you get a super goose.
super goose. He's referring to a shotgun. So anyhow, well, thanks again, guys, for tuning in to the Raised Hunting Podcast. I hope that I hope we've had proof that what we're talking about has helped guys thinking about what they're doing and they're applying it and it's worked. And so anyhow, we're not saying we know everything by any means. Well, and as you can hear, we're still trying to figure things out ourselves. I'm still learning. I've been doing this for 35 years now, something like maybe almost 40. And I just think it's so cool to understand that I can still learn something about them.
Yeah.
So anyhow, keep writing the reviews, keep sharing with your friends.
Keep asking questions.
Yeah, we will continue.
If we
on-
don't know the answer and you want to know what happens when you set out 4 toms for a decoy and a couple jakes and maybe a whole flock of hens, let me know. I'll try it for you. We'll see what happens.
You should try it.
I'm going to. I've always that's why I was zoning out a couple times there because I was thinking about what kind of combination I'm going to do. I'm going to have like 5 or 6 different birds at least.
You're gonna have to have them really consolidated to keep them in your shooting window.
Oh no, I'm spreading them out
How are you gonna shoot everywhere?
because I'm going to let them come to those
How on
decoys and work
earth
through them.
Will I get them all to move? I'll have remote controls.
I have
I'll have
fishing
my
lines
feet-
everywhere.
it's basically gonna be a piano. Dude.
Yeah, no, like the doll thingies.
It'd be a synchronization.
Why can I not think of their name right now? The whole
That would be
the axe they used to
hilarious.
do, like Pinocchio is the little string guy.
Marionette.
Huh?
A marionette.
I never would have guessed that one.
Whatever.
I thought that was just a puppet.
Puppet, yeah, string puppets. That's what I was
String
thinking
bucket.
of.
There you go. All right. I think we were closing before he got so off on a tangent. So thank you guys again. We appreciate it. This is the Raised Hunting Podcast signing off.